Sirei paygamber այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է Senator Anthony Portantino. Senator Portantino հայերուն կրնամսել ամենալավ բարեկամներեն մեկն է. Senator, let me turn to you and do speak in, not in Armenian, in English, but you can always speak Armenian if you want to. Kich. Pariegazik.
Thank you.
Welcome. It is really an honor for us to have you on our show for the first time. How are you, first of all?
I'm doing great, and it's great to see you, and thank you very much for inviting me on the show.
Thank you. Elections are coming.
Elections
so
are
right
coming.
back to, you want to run for a Congress seat.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct. We have been blessed for the past 22 years. We've had Adam Schiff as our Congress member, and after 22 years in office, he has decided to run for the state Senate seat that's going to be opening up in 2024. And so it's provided me the opportunity to continue to serve in a capacity that I love to do, which is to focus on the district and do the best I can. And so I'm going to seize that opportunity and run for his seat.
He was one of our best friends, right? For the Armenian community for the
Yeah.
past, as you said, 22 years.
Yeah.
That's big shoes to fill, basically. And I mean, you did it at the state level. However, at the federal level, it's a different ballgame.
Well, I feel that the community has embraced me from when I first was on the La Cañada City Council. I remember going to the Sisters Academy to a genocide event when I was mayor. And from that time, I've always had a great relationship with the Armenian American community throughout the San Gabriel Valley, throughout Glendale and Burbank. And so I feel I'm the right person to fill Adam Schiff's shoes. As you said, he's leaving a big vacuum. And certainly this district is more than just a local district. Adam has put a national focus on it. And, you know, I think the international politics of it are important. And Adam also never lost sight of how important the local issue is as well. You know, he always came back. He made sure he had a presence. He didn't just go to Washington and stay there like many, you know, Congress members do. And I think that also fits with who I am. I mean, I love the district aspect of being a representative. I love my district. I tell my colleagues that I have the best district in the state of California, and they get mad at me and I say I'm an honest politician. I just tell the truth. My district's better than theirs.
Okay, let's go a little bit and let's tell our audience, because everybody knows you. I mean, but maybe there's some people don't know you. Just a brief background, who you are and what you represent and what's your vision, let's say, and let's go from there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that opportunity. I'm a kid from New Jersey. I came out here after college to be in the entertainment industry. And one of the interesting things about growing up in New Jersey is my mom, who was a single mom, knew about the genocide, knew about the Near East relief and the orphans, and even in the 70s as a young kid, talked to us about that. And I think it was because of the Woodrow Wilson connection to New Jersey that within schools there was much more recognition and understanding of the Armenian experience, and particularly the orphans. I remember my mother talking to me about that in the Near East. And so I came to California to be a filmmaker, and then I ended up on the La Cañada Flint Ridge City Council, and that's where I started to interact with the local Armenian community and was invited to issue the first proclamation that La Cañada ever issued commemorating the genocide. So I did that when I was mayor. And then I was blessed to go to the state assembly and serve in the assembly for 6 years, and I think as a good friend of the community and continue to advocate. And then I've had the honor of going to Yerevan 4 times. I've been to Artsakh 4 times, and just embraced the people, the culture, the passion, the issues. And you know, as I said, I focus on the district more than anything else. And the values that I were brought up with are the very similar values to the Armenian community: public education, opportunity, hard work. You make your path to the best you can. You know, my mother instilled those values in us, and as a legislator, I focus a lot on K-12 schools, community college, and you know, this district, GCC is a very important part of this district. Pasadena City College, very important. And so, from a legislative perspective, I've always supported our institutions of education, because that's where our children get that opportunity to succeed today and tomorrow. And so that's, you know, I'm a dad. You know, I always tell people, they ask me, what's the lens I use? And I say, I'm a dad. And that's how I,
that's how I feel too.
Right.
My first job is that I'm a dad.
Right. And I
For
tell
my daughter.
And I tell my daughters, it's the only thing I do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is worry about them.
When did you decide that was time for you to move to U.S. Congress, if that opportunity comes? Just because Adam Schiff decided to run, or that was in your mind, oh, one day if this seat opens, I want to run for Congress?
Well, it's not that simple in a sense that I've embraced public service. You know, I never thought I'd ever be a politician. And I think that's why I'm a little different than a lot of other politicians. I remember that kid in college who desperately wanted to be somebody. I wasn't that kid. I learned to love public service. And so I did it on the local level, and I think I made a difference for my community. I've done it on the state level, and I think I've made a positive difference. And I still have this fire in my belly. I still have this, the fuel to do more. And I think the dysfunction in Washington needs somebody like me, because I'm not going there to be vice president someday. I'm not going there to be a cabinet secretary. I'm going there to be the representative of the 30th district and serve my district to the best of my ability, but also bring my brand of, you know, getting people to work together. I mean, I've done a lot in Sacramento, difficult things, and I've succeeded at them. I've taken on legislation where people said, you're never going to get that through the system.
Right.
And I've been able to get
difficult issues you
difficult
faced,
issues.
yeah.
And I've
you
been
were not afraid to take on.
Right. And I think today more than ever, we need that courage in Washington. We need people to look the other folks in the eye and say, you know what, there's a bigger picture here. We've got to, you know, not demonize children. We have to do what's in the best interest of children. We need to stop yelling at each other and do what's in the best interest of, you know, California, the United States, and get things done. Now that doesn't mean I mean, I'll disagree with somebody who's wrong. You know, I'm Italian, and you know, I'm happy to look you in the eye.
Stick to your guns,
exactly. Yeah. I'm happy to look you in the eye and say you're 100% wrong.
Oh yeah, you're dead wrong on this issue.
Right. You know, and I have no problem saying that. But the way you do it matters. You know, you engender respect because you bring your values to the conversation. You don't.
I mean, during Trump's time, I should say, all that, you know, thing of civility was almost lost. That
Correct.
And now some of it is coming back in Washington, but still, you know, we were a country, we respect each other. You know, you may have a different opinion that I have, but still, I respect your opinion,
right.
And vice versa. But that thing, the last 4 years with Trump, it was so adversarial. I couldn't believe it. I never seen it in my entire life, in, you know, watching politics and politicians.
You know, I believe the man has done serious damage to our country and to our discourse. So much of his success was demonizing other people, even in his own party. You know, even today, he's picking on other Republicans. I mean, the man has made his career out of putting people down. I mean, there's an old saying, you can stand tall in the forest by growing, right, or by cutting the limbs of the other trees. And his way of succeeding has been to cut the limb, you know. And I prefer the other way, is, you know, you stand tall because of what you do and how you engender respect. And so, no, I think he's done tremendous harm to our country.
To our country.
Yeah, I really do. Let's
go back to your record. What would you say your best accomplishment been in Senate, the California Senate? What would you say, this is what Anthony Portantino done. It was great for my district, great for the people of California.
Well, you're going to like the answer as a healthcare person. One of my favorite accomplishments is I set up California's umbilical cord blood collection program.
Right.
And so in California, when we had a birth, the umbilical cord was filled with stem cells that
right.
cure leukemia, and we would throw them away. And so I set up the system in California where we collect those stem cells from umbilical cords and the placenta, and we store them at UC Davis, and we make them available to cure people's leukemia. And that program is saving lives. Last time I checked, it was like over 40 families had their lives saved. And I used to say, if you saved one, that's a lifetime.
It's a life, exactly.
And so we've made a difference in people. So I'm very, very proud of that. And I got that idea from a conversation with a woman in my district whose son was the first UCLA cancer patient to get a cord blood transplant. 30 years ago, they flew him back to Johns Hopkins to get it. And she told me the story of how it saved her son's life, and then I wanted to bring that to California, and I created the program to do it. So I'm very proud of that. Some of the gun issues, too. I mean, again, President Biden talks about having safe storage legislation, and we see the parents of the recent shooter being tried for letting the gun fall into the wrong hands. I've tried to bring accountability to gun control, and I think that's making California safer. And I don't see that as inconsistent with the Second Amendment. Saying lock your gun up doesn't mean you don't have the right to have it. But if you let your gun fall into the wrong hands, if you don't safely store that gun, you should be held responsible for that. So I'm very proud of some of that legislation that I've done. And then on public education, I don't think there's been a bigger supporter of educational institutions in Sacramento over the past 15 years than me. And I legislate as a dad. And we know how valuable these institutions are, both to native-born Californians and our immigrant community. People want to get an education. We should provide that opportunity for them.
When did you decide to be the biggest supporter of Armenians? Every event I go to, and there's events that I don't go, I'm sure you're there. I mean, I'm shocked as an Armenian American to see you, and I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I'm very proud, I should say, seeing you in every Armenian event. What made you all of a sudden become the best friend of the Armenian community?
Well, believe it or not, several of the Armenian Americans that I met 20 years ago had connections to the East Coast. Your own family had an...
I've known you 20 years maybe, at least 15 years.
And so a number of the early Armenian Americans that I met and became friends with in California had connections to New Jersey or to Boston or to other places on the East Coast. And so we hit it off. We spoke the same language in essence. And so, yes, Haskanum Hayren Makich, so I can understand a little bit, just enough to be dangerous. But so the friendships developed. We connected on a human level, and then the community just kept saying welcome.
They welcomed you.
They welcomed me.
Like an adopted son or...
Exactly. Exactly. And then when I had the opportunity to go to Armenia for the first time in 2016, everybody there was happy to see me. And then 2 years ago, when the human rights defender was here from Artsakh, and he said, we haven't had a politician go to Artsakh since the war. Will you be the first? Will you send a message to the rest of the world, the country, that you should go back to Artsakh? And so being invited, I mean, how do you say no?
What was your reaction first time you went to Armenia? Because I'm going to tell you my experience as an Armenian American who never visited Armenia. For the first time, I had tears in my eyes. I could not believe when the plane was landing in Yerevan. I was I just like, wow. I said, this is my homeland. And I never been there. I wasn't born there. I never studied there. I mean, remember, I was born in Beirut. I grew up in California. So it was, to me, it was a completely difficult experience. How did you feel as a non-Armenian?
I fell in love with Yerevan as a city. I mean, just the history, the culture, the presence of the place just was magnificent. And then when I had the opportunity to go to Stepanakert and go to Shushi and go to Agdam and meet with folks there, I fell in love. I mean, being in Stepanakert at night on a weekend and seeing all of the families out and just the wonderful, again, welcoming aspect of it was just engaging and made me want to go back. And I'll tell you a funny story. I landed in Yerevan, checked into the hotel, went out into the square. I'm literally in Yerevan 15 minutes, and a young kid from Glendale comes up to me and says, are you Assemblymember Portantino? I was an assembly member at the time, and his name was William Sarian. So of all the names so that was the young man. And then I come back to Glendale a month later, and who do I see on Brand Boulevard but the same young kid.
Who was from Glendale visiting.
And then I saw him in Glendale a month later. So that was also kind of cool, was that there were so many people in Yerevan who knew who I was and interacted with me, and again, said welcome. And so, obviously that was 2016, that was before the war, that was before everything that's going on today, and there's a sadness about going back to Stepanakert.
I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the campaign and what's going to take to get you to the U.S. Capitol. Սեր պայգամներ, գաչ տաթարմը պիդարնենք և պիդի վերատանակ մեր հայդակրին։ Sireri paygamber Aysova merhurne Senator Anthony Portantino. Senator. I'm going to say you congressman, but I didn't want to say
about-
yet.
How about Yegpar?
Yekpar. Okay, that's good. I'm sure it's going to be a tough campaign. A lot of people are going to run for that prize, seat. What's going to take to win that seat?
Well, first and foremost, it's
Money, I'm sure.
money, but hard work.
Yeah.
And I think, I have a record to show. I have accomplishments to talk about. That's where the resources come in, because you want to tell your story. But I think I start out with a good, base of support. A number of local officials have been coming on board, both in Glendale, Burbank, and Los Angeles, West Hollywood. People are coming to me and saying, hey, they've either known me from my record, or they've heard from friends that they want to help. So I think hard work. It's going to be an expensive race. I mean, Los Angeles County is an expensive place to run a campaign. But most importantly, it's going to be people like yourselves and others who help get the word out, who share their knowledge of me. When I ran for the Senate, somebody did a poll and said, have you ever met the candidates? And almost 20% of the people in the district had met me. And, I think that's a good thing, to have a reputation where, I'm not afraid to go talk to people. And I'm going to continue to talk to people. So yes, I'm going to need the resources to get my message out. I'm going to need friends to open up their homes and their living rooms and say, we want you to meet our neighborhood. I'm going to need people to make financial contributions. But most importantly, I'm going to need people to share their experience with the type of politics that I bring to the table, which is passionate but friendly, which is values-based and persistent, but based on principle. And I think when people share that about me, I think it's going to lead to a winning campaign. And there's, as you mentioned, there's a number of folks running, all good people. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to have a better message, I'm going to have more to say, and I'm going to have more friends. And I think that's going to translate into a winning campaign. What is the phrase? Tebi haktanak.
Right.
On to victory.
Haktanak, yeah, to win, obviously. Right. Let me shift a little bit gears to the Armenian American Museum. Yeah. We were very instrumental getting state funding for the museum, and I think the community supports that, and overwhelmingly.
Yeah, the state has put in $19.8 million.
Almost $20 million from the state. Through your efforts, all of it, or there were others help also in that effort?
Assemblymember Sarian got the first $1 million back when he was in the assembly before I got there. So that was, he set the precedent of the state.
I see.
And then I brought the governor's chief of staff to Glendale. And I said to the governor, I would like to have your people get familiarized with the project. And the governor was very open to that conversation. And so his chief of staff came down and met with the board and toured the facility and went back and reported to the governor how special the effort was. And the governor, who had his own connection to the Armenian community when he was mayor of San Francisco and went through with the cross on the mountain, I mean, he had a relationship, was inclined to be open to the conversation. And so once his chief of staff reported back, then the governor and I negotiated an additional $5 million in the budget, so that brought us up to 6. And then I had an opportunity to get another 10. And then I had an opportunity to get another 1.8. And so every time I've had
It's amazing. I mean, the number, I was shocked that the state, even though the state has surplus. Are you surprised the state has surplus?
Well, we don't have the surplus this year. We had it
last year.
Yeah, last year. And I was able to, and again, the governor has been open to that, to those, to the idea. And it started, I think the role that I played is I didn't want to do this just as me. And I said I wanted the governor to see the merit of the project. And to his credit, he was open to do that and sent his chief of staff down to tour, and we set up a meeting with the board so they could see how united the community was. And I think that's how I am effective. I'd rather they get the credit for it, and they do it based on the merit of it. And so once they were convinced at how special this project was, every opportunity we've had to bring additional funds to the table, we've been able to do.
Let's go to the campaign. Have you started your actual putting the campaign together?
Absolutely.
You did?
No, I'm a declared candidate.
You declared your candidacy?
Yes. Yes,
And,
I waited till I was respectful.
Right.
Even though Congressman Schiff had given me permission to do, things early, I said, no, I'm going to wait till you make your announcement. I'm going to be respectful to you, Congressman, who's a dear friend and a good
Right.
representative.
He's a friend of mine too, and he's
Right.
done so much for the district and for the Armenian community. I mean,
So once he made his plans public, then I announced that I was running for his seat. So yes, we have a robust campaign. We have a website. You can go to anthonyportantino.com and get information and see how you can get involved and help. And we're working hard every day.
you think you'll be able to raise the money?
Well, I
It's
hope
a lot
so.
of money,
I
but-
hope so. We're gonna, we have efforts. We have a couple of events coming up in Glendale on the 30th and the 31st, and I have a lot of supporters. Artie Kasakian is a great supporter and a good friend, and I think he's your next guest.
I know, he is.
He's going to be
yes,
your next
for
guest,
sure.
and
He's
so
a good friend of mine for many years.
and he has well represented the district, and so he's been helpful. Ara Najarian is helpful. I've been endorsed by the Armenian National Committee Western Region. I've been endorsed by the Armenian Rights Council. ARCA, excuse me.
Sure.
Got a tickle in my throat.
Right. I mean, you've been all the years I've known you, you've been such a big supporter of the Armenian community. I mean, almost like adopted son, I would say, of the Armenians. And we always respect you. We loved you for that purpose.
Yeah, I never use the word Odar.
No,
I
you're
don't
not an holder.
So and again, the community welcomed me, and so yes, having the Western Region endorsement is important. Having the Armenian Rights Council of America, again, different political parties, different political spectrums, trying to unite the Armenian community, and most of the Armenian elected officials throughout the district are endorsing my campaign, as well as others.
Right.
There's a whole host of non-Armenian endorsements and organizations.
That's what I was going to ask you. What are some of the key issues that people care in the district
Well,
that they want the U.S. congressman to do?
Well, I think the housing crisis, the homeless crisis are on everybody's mind in Los Angeles County, in California. We have to build more housing, we have to get people care, we have to get people into programs.
I mean, the mayor said she was going to work on the housing and homelessness, but I still see homelessness
Well,
rapid.
she's actually doing a good job. In her first 100 days, she's doing a good job. There's a lot of goodwill towards her. She's made it a priority.
Right.
She's doing what she needs to do. So even though that's not a federal issue, people in the district deeply care about it. And
Yeah, we do care about that issue.
And we've tried to support homeless services. My staff works very closely with an organization in North LA in the Los Feliz area called SELA, which is a collection of neighborhood councils have come together to form a nonprofit to work on homeless care. We're trying that. We're helping them to the best of our ability. The thing about that issue, which people need to understand, is there's two aspects to it. There's the mental health and drug
Right.
piece of it. Then there's the economic piece of it, and it's
Right.
about 50-50. And
You're
one
correct.
of the things that I've tried to do from a legislative perspective is work on that. That's why I support community colleges to the extent that I do. We have to help people survive the economic change, and we have to offer job training and other issues to keep the economic piece, because once somebody falls into homelessness, it's far more expensive.
Oh.
The impact on the family is horrible, but then the expense of it. And so keeping people economically viable requires us to change the education model and the job training and the job programs, as well as the drug treatment and the other pieces of it. So we have to hit it from all fronts. And the governor's trying that with his care court proposal, is trying to get people into the care that they need and into housing. And I think, Mayor Bass is doing a good job in her first 100 days to try to make a difference in that issue.
Yeah, I think Congressman Adam Schiff was very prominent in the foreign affairs.
Correct.
Those are the areas that he was on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and it was very effective. What do you think some of these foreign issues, even though those are most people vote for local issues, their pocketbooks and so forth, but foreign issues, at least for the Armenians, is very important.
Well, I think that's also an important distinction of something that I bring to the table. I mean, I am hyper-focused on the district, but I have been part of many delegations to different countries, and I've met with heads of state. I've sat down with prime ministers. I've been involved in conversations on Senate delegations to a number of countries, and so I'm comfortable in that sphere as well. And so I think that's important for people to know, that even though I focus on those, what they call kitchen table issues, I'm no stranger to being
to foreign
affairs. Again, Adam Schiff is the leader in that issue, but I'm not intimidated by those issues in any way, shape, or form, and I'm very comfortable in international circumstances, the protocol, the things. Now, obviously for our district, what's going on in Armenia and the Lashin corridor, it's...
That's what I was going to ask you next.
Yeah.
What do you think is happening here? Lashin corridor is shut down 100 days now.
Right.
And nothing can be done, looks like it.
Well, I think something can be done. I think the U.S. has to take a stronger arm with Erdogan, with Azerbaijan. I think we have to be even more diligent in our condemnation of the corridor, and we have to be more engaged. And that's something that I'm going to do from day one. I'm going to continue to be an advocate for that region and the human rights. Starving of people in Artsakh on
120,000 people.
Yeah, is on so many levels is just, it's a human rights violation, and we have to call it out, and we have to speak with a strong voice. Now, it was great that President Biden, mentioned the word genocide and recognized the genocide.
Right.
And that was a wonderful step. And again, Adam Schiff was instrumental in making that happen, as well all of the grassroots activists helped make that happen. But that's not enough.
Right.
What's going on right now is a humanitarian crisis. It's not just a political situation. People are going to die.
Yeah. It's not a politics. It's a human rights issue.
It's a human rights issue.
Catastrophe.
And I think we have to be more outspoken on that, without a doubt.
Because we're coming at the end of our show, but I was going to ask you two questions. Number one, what do you think of Armenia trying to reach out to Turkey?
Well,
and I don't want this to be a loaded question, but I'm just curious.
That is a loaded.
To see, because there's, obviously Armenia, even during this recent earthquake, sent humanitarian aid to Turkey as a humanitarian gesture. At the end of the day, someone is a human being, regardless whether you're a Turk or Armenian. And I always felt that way, me personally. A human being is a human being. If they need care, regardless who they are, they need care.
On a humanitarian effort, yes. When somebody is hurt, you give them a Band-Aid. When somebody needs help, you call them a doctor. There's definitely a humanitarian connection between all people.
Right.
But I think on the political sphere, we've seen that if you don't take a hard line with Turkey, they take more. I think they were opportunistic. When Trump had his relationship with Erdogan looking the other way, I think they used that, the blinking of U.S. to attack, and I think they use that opportunity, and I think we have to be stronger with them, not weaker with them. And Ronald Reagan, strength, be the bigger bear, makes it a more powerful statement. And so I don't have a problem with us taking a hard line with Turkey or Azerbaijan at all, and that doesn't mean you can't be a good player on human rights issues as well. It's not an either or thing, but we certainly should be standing up for Artsakh with every fabric of our being. People are going to die, and I've been there. I actually had, I don't have family members there, but I've actually broken bread with people on other trips who have now been killed.
Right.
And so, that's not something and I walk through houses with people who have had their houses bombed, and and then I've had lunch with people on the border who have said, we're not going anywhere.
I salute those people who
Right.
are refusing to leave.
Right.
Because, Aliyev said the door is always open. It's a one-way door open.
Right.
He was just saying, leave.
Right.
But the people that are refusing, they're saying, this is our land, this is our homeland, this is where we were born.
I told you that one soldier handed me the dirt when I was in the foxhole, and he said, this is our land. We're going to stand on our land, we're going to fight on our land, and we're going to die on our land. Brought tears to our eyes, but that's their spirit.
Well, I can't thank you enough, because you've been just almost like my idol hero, supporting the Armenian community, because I, as an Armenian American, grew up in this country. I have very strong feelings towards homeland, and I always value people who stand by us. We're always loyal as people, and we always value those people who, with us in bad days and good days. The last word is yours, Senator.
Well, we didn't talk about the trade desk in Yerevan that
Go ahead.
Governor Schwarzenegger, actually not Governor Schwarzenegger, Governor Newsom. Governor Newsom made his first trade desk is in Yerevan, and we put it at Impact Hub. And so, I was pleased to be on hand when that MOU was signed in New York, and big supporter of making sure that we made the symbolic statement that California is going to interact with Yerevan and make sure that we help the economy there, and we value the exchange and the relationship between California and Armenia. And so that's another great accomplishment, I think, during my tenure. Again, the governor's role in it was central. I'm whispering in his ear, and I being in the right place.
Maybe another 20 million you whisper to his ears.
We'll see. Anyway, so thank you for the opportunity and your friendship as well. You've been a good friend all these times as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We wish you well. We will see you in U.S. Congress.
Thank you.
Սիրելի պայգամներ, ասցեոր մեր հայդակիրը գվերջանա, մենք շնորհակալ ենք Senator Anthony Portantinoին այսօրվա հարցազրույցին համար։ Գիշեր բարի։